This is a little additional bit of content that I have been thinking about, and conversations have been had about it in different ways for me over the last few days. And I woke up this morning with a real urgency in my mind to say something about it. So I'm going to say something about it. And it goes a little something like this: be careful of devices and screen time and how much you put your young children, we put our young children in front of these things. It changes neural pathways, and there's a lot of research that outlines it can create anxiety and risk aversion and low self-esteem. And like with most things, the younger they are started on it and the more they do it, the greater the damage. So when my girls were young, we didn't have smartphones, and I would restrict TV time. They did watch TV, but I would restrict it. And we did a lot of creative things. So instead of sitting and watching TV, they'd make things. Or when they were a lot smaller and I was living in London at the time, I would strap my youngest into the harness and put the older one in the buggy, and off we'd go. And I made a point of, as much as possible, getting out of the house with them when they were small, because it made everybody happier. If they were in the house all day, they would literally start to bounce off the walls. But if I would take them out in the morning, come back, have lunch, give them a nap, they were just happier, more content children. But I have worked with young people for a long time, and I've seen the change. I've seen the effects of mobile phones and devices on younger children. I've had conversations with other youth practitioners and educators, and this is a really known thing now. So to know what it can do and then proceed and do it, really it is building a rod for your own back. That's what I've seen, because it can be difficult to create boundaries, to create confidence, and these things are addictive. So once a child is programmed into these things, you're going to have a job getting them out of it. I recognise 100% the challenge of working and being busy and having to keep a clean house and wash the clothes and cook the dinner, and I absolutely recognise that, and times have changed. But you will find yourself with a challenge that you might not be able to meet if you allow small children to be on devices for long periods of time. They need to be reading books, they need to be drawing pictures, they need to be running about outside, they need to be using building blocks, they need to be bored. One of the best things for a child, I know from my own experience, is to have nothing to do. We weren't allowed growing up to say we were bored, because if we said we were bored, Mom would say, go and find something to do. Pick up a book and read it. Go and draw a picture. Right? There was no such thing as bored. And we weren't allowed to watch the TV all day either. And what that does is train your brain to have an imagination, train your brain to find solutions to boredom, which created my love of music, which created my love of dancing, created my love of reading. My love of reading led to skills in terms of wordplay and literacy and comprehension, which played into my educational achievements, which led to my professional achievements. You need to create that foundation in children. It really is at a crisis point, as far as I can see. Attention span has dropped. Just consider it. Something that I felt I needed to say, so I've said it. Somebody out there needs to hear this. You can change it. You might have what you see on some of these videos that are online where the parent takes the controller off the child and the child starts going mad. You might have that. You might have to deal with that. You might have to deal with meltdowns, screaming, crazy behavior, but pry that thing out of their hand as quickly as possible and get them to do something that has nothing to do with a screen. We're moving into such a wonderful future that requires balance, that requires harmony, and we know the things that do us well. We know a good diet does us well. We know good sleep does us well. We know getting outside and nature does wonders for us. And if you think that not giving those things to a small child, a growing child, doesn't have an effect, you're sorely mistaken. And I've spoken to elders who have told me you will sometimes come across people who are brave enough to tell the truth. And I'll never forget a woman that explained to me about her daughter who had real anxiety issues and was on medication. And her perspective was, it was to do with the devices. And her daughter is the generation that started off with the devices, that didn't, when the studies weren't present, where the evidence wasn't there, and it was just going into no man's land. And she credits the challenges her daughter's now having to be attributed in a large way to devices. That's just one person. But as I say, I'm a professional in this team, and I've seen it. I've seen the change. I've seen young people go from looking me in the eye and talking to me confidently, even with really challenging backgrounds, to not being able to maintain eye contact, or literally put the phone down. It's not too late. Everything can be turned around. But yeah, I think it's important to say this at this juncture in time.